A new social leader has reportedly been assassinated in the Colombian municipality of Santander de Quilichao, in the northern sector of the department of Cauca. Following Finland's decision to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, Russia asserts that it will do whatever it is necessary to protect itself from any threat to its national security. Palestinians commemorate the 74th anniversary of the Nakba or Catastrophe Day with protests and marches in Palestine and other parts of the world. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. A new social leader has reportedly been assassinated in the Colombian municipality of Santander de Quilichao, in the northern sector of the department of Cauca. The victim was identified as Edgar Quintero, who was a member of the Cimarrona Guard and a social leader in the village of Lomitas. Quintero was killed by unidentified individuals carrying firearms when he was leaving his home in the El sector of El Crucero, a road that connects this municipality with the village of Timba in the municipality of Buenos Aires. A report from the Institute of Study for Development and Peace shows that 15 social leaders have been murdered in Cauca during 2022 and a total of 25 across the nation. Thousands of very indigenous people took to the streets in the Colombian town of Tibu to denounce the murder of Camilo Boru Bosachira, a community member of the Berry in April 2022. They protested against being victims of murder by illegal armed groups, forced displacement, threats to their leaders, and the use of minors for criminal actions. They also demanded that the Colombian government comply with the collective territorial rights, economic, social, cultural, and environmental rights, as well as respect the international humanitarian law, which allows them to exercise autonomy and self-determination in their ancestral territory. They expressed concerns about the delicate situation of public order and the escalation of armed conflicts in indigenous territories.
With more over 1,000 people here, we have to make the goal at the Colombian level and the international level in this rally, that the Bari people are being killed in our territory, in our ancestral territory, that we have inhabited for centuries.
In Chile, following the 103rd plenary session of the convention, the draft of the country's new constitution has been concluded. It took nearly 10 hours of constitutional debate for the last standing rules of the Environment Committee to complete the first draft of the new Chilean charter with 131 votes in favor and only 2 against and 2 abstentions. With 499 articles for the proposal, the thematic commissions closed the exercise, and now the Harmonization Commission will take the turn for the final works. This constitutional draft is the first to be carried out by representatives from all over the country who have been elected on the basis of gender parity and with seats reserved for indigenous peoples, by the Chilean citizens who have been summoned to go to the polls on September 4th and adopt or reject the text in the referendum to leave. Maria Elisa Quinteros, president of the full convention, thanked all the people who participated until late at night in the process.
We are happy, excited, and moved because today we are taking a tremendously significant step on this path. Constituents, after a little more than 10 months, 103 plenary sessions, and fulfilling all the established deadlines, the last articles of the draft constitution text have been submitted today. This means that we finally have the draft of the permanent rules for the new constitution.
The Cuban Parliament meets on Sunday in an extraordinary session to debate the incorporation of 3 new laws to the island's legal system. The 5th extraordinary session of the National Assembly will analyze the draft laws of the Penal Code, criminal execution, protection of constitutional rights, protection system for literary and artistic creation, and the general law for the protection of cultural heritage and natural heritage. The parliamentarians are also expected to analyze the progress of the economic and social strategy, mainly in relation to the monetary reorganization of the largest of the Caribbean islands, as well as the new Code of the Families. The extraordinary session of the National Assembly opened on Saturday, May 14th, and will last until Monday, May 16th, due to its extensive legislative agenda. After Saturday's shooting in Buffalo, the second largest city in the state of New York, United States President Joe Biden recognized domestic terrorism operating in his country and urged to eradicate it. At least 10 people were killed in the racist attack perpetrated against Afro-Americans in a supermarket. In the face of these facts, the head of the state assured that racially motivated crimes are abominable, while recognizing that more details about the event are still being processed. The president stated that what happened in Buffalo is an act of domestic terrorism, especially if it is based on a white nationalist ideology, and assured that the event is the antithesis of what, according to him, the United States represents.
The Justice Department has stated publicly that it is investigating the matter as a hate crime, racially motivated act of white supremacy and violent extremism. As they do, we must all work together to address the hate that remains a stain on the soul of America. The hearts are heavy once again, but a resolve must never ever waver.
Let's take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. The Brazilian state of Minas Gerais experienced severe storms last January, sparked by the climatic emergency and aggravated by the irresponsible mining activities of companies such as Vale. Our correspondents Andre Vieira and Sebastian Soto visited one of these affected places and brings us the details.
The Patria Libre camp is home for 600 families who have been fighting since 2017 for the right to the land that belonged to a man convicted of corruption. At the beginning of the year, the Parapiba River, polluted in 2019 by the Vale Mining Company, transshipped, destroyed houses, plantations, dreams. We are here in the municipality of São Joaquim de Bicas, in the state of Minas Gerais, one of the states affected by the floods of last January, and here we can still see the damage left by the flood. Maria das Graças took us to see what was left of her house. She built it 5 years ago when she came to the camp fleeing domestic violence. She told us that this was her place. From here she saw the debris flowing down the river from the Vale Dam, which broke in 2019 and left 272 dead. This environmental crime has intensified the floods, which this year killed dozens of people and displaced the contaminated mud on those who were already affected. This is all about climate emergency and irresponsible mining.
It is very disgusting to know that it was not because of God's will, but because of man who was able to let a tragedy like this happen. We are sad about that, but as I told you, we must have faith and believe that we will rebuild everything again.
In a Brazil where almost 6 million houses are lacking for the people and 12 million are unemployed, agrarian reform is an alternative. Wilson lost his job as a trader. Clovis went through different professions, but could not find a job. Both were homeless before arriving at the Patria Libre camp.
I slept on the street. If I didn't sleep on the street, I slept in a shelter. Then the opportunity arose to come here, and I came, and I have been here for 3 years and a little more. And here, for me, it's been very good. Here we learn not to be selfish, here we learn to divide, here is a school. I think that everything I have been through was a school to learn about things.
Here the pandemic is faced with solidarity. It was in plantations such as Joaquin Enriquez that the landless movement produced 6,000 tons of food donated to the neediest during this health crisis. An action that contrasts with a country where almost 20 million people are suffering from hunger and where agrarian reform was paralyzed by the government of Jair Bolsonaro.
Industry is useful, but it does not kill anyone's hunger. The only thing that will end hunger is agriculture and livestock. I am not saying that industry does not help, it does help. But first, it is food production.
With Bolsonaro's government, there was really hunger. There were many crises, a lot of lack of money for everyone. I think there were few who did not go through that. We, who are from the working class and who support ourselves with our work, had many difficulties.
They resisted after occupying, faced an environmental crime, a pandemic, and a flood. They fight to conquer the land and make of Brazil what they carry in the name of the camp, a free homeland.
André Vieira e Sebastião Soto, teleSUR, Brasil.
Following Finland's decision to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, Russia asserts that it will do whatever it is necessary to protect itself from any threat to its national security. During an interview to national media, Russian State Duma Deputy Dmitry Belek warned that the addition of Finland to NATO will increase Russia's land border with the alliance, and this represents a challenge to Russian security. In this sense, Belek indicated that they will respond to such challenges by equipping the borders with modern weapons to face any aggression from the military bloc. These statements come after the Finnish government announced its formal decision to join NATO and confirmed its intention to apply to join the organization probably on Wednesday, May 18th. And as was previously said, the government of Finland announced a formal decision to apply for membership in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization despite Moscow's warning. The President of Finland, Sauli Niinisto, and the Prime Minister, Sanna Marin, delivered the news on Sunday from the Presidential Palace in Helsinki. The government's Foreign and Security Policy Committee finalized the report on the accession, which will be submitted to the General Court after approval by the entire government. The Swedish government is also expected to make an equivalent announcement on Tuesday. The Russian Foreign Ministry repeatedly warned that the accession of Finland and Sweden to NATO would entail consequences both for their bilateral relations with Russia and for the whole European security architecture. Moscow assured that Sweden and Finland would be potential targets for the Russian army after hosting NATO troops on their territories. The Ukrainian army installed several tons of explosive at the chemical plant in the Donbas city of Rubezhnoye. The Lugansk militia claimed that if the device had been triggered, a global technological catastrophe would have occurred. Upon arrival at the Zarya factory after liberating the city, where Azov battalion members have been accused by its residents of serious crimes, the militia discovered 49 tons of trelate and ammonal. The electronic warfare team prevented the detonation after blocking the remote control signal with which they planned to activate the explosive. If the operation had been completed, the magnitude of the tragedy would have been extraordinary, since there are trains full of ammonia, sulfuric and nitric acid in the area, in addition to other hazardous substances. After disabling all the mine points in the compound, the popular militias issued a statement with the details, in which they also declared that the area no longer represents a danger to the population or to the environment. An attack from Ukraine leaves one person wounded in the Russian town of Sereda in Belgorod province. The governor of the province of Belgorod, Vyacheslav Gladkov, said the attack occurred Sunday and assured that the person wounded will receive all the necessary medical assistance to ensure his recovery. The Russian official declared he expects to know more details about the incident, which he will communicate to the national authorities and the citizens of the province. We have more news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Palestinians commemorate the 74th anniversary of the Nakba catastrophe day with protests and marches in Palestine and other parts of the world. The march on the occasion of the date commemorating the illegal creation of Israel and the expulsion of the Palestinians from their lands in May 1948 stretched from Al-Katiba Square in the city of Gaza to the United Nations Organization's headquarters under the slogans "End of Israeli Apartheid" and "Freedom for Gaza." Several European cities have also been the scene of large-scale demonstrations in solidarity with Palestinians and to call for an end to the Israeli attacks on the besieged Gaza Strip. Mobilizations were also registered in the United States, Australia and other countries around the world. These events also pay tribute to the Palestinian journalist Shirin Abu Akleh, who was shot dead by Israeli forces during a raid in the occupied West Bank earlier this week. In the same context, Palestinian protesters clashed with Israeli security forces near the Be'il settlement at the northern entrance to the city of Ramallah in the occupied West Bank, with thousands of Palestinians streamed through Ramallah for the main Nakba rally, and other protests in Gaza City were reported. The occupation forces regularly cracked down on people holding Palestinian flags. Several injuries were reported in clashes between demonstrators and Israeli troops. In Lebanon, parliamentary election day ended after a day without security incidents and with a significant turnout of voters. Polling stations closed at 7 p.m. local time after opening to more than 3.9 million eligible voters. Authorities stated that voters who were inside the polling stations at closing time could cast their ballots to elect the new parliament. However, they warned that the new voters would not be allowed to enter. Final results are expected to be announced this Monday. The European Union declared that its 170 observers on the ground reported a large influx of voters and informed that the team will also witness the counting of the votes. Lebanese Prime Minister Najib Mikati thanked Lebanese security forces for completing the electoral process and described the parliamentary elections as a great victory.
Every election has flaws, and thanks God, today we faced just the minimum amount. Our team managed to tackle them, and we came out at 7 with a great victory for the Lebanese state and its citizens.
Somalia's long-awaited elections took place on Sunday amid heavy security measures after repeated postponements since 2021. Local media reported that approximately 319 legislators from the two houses of parliament gathered in a joint session to vote at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon local time in an armored zone of the international airport of Mogadishu, guarded by a strong security device organized by the African Union and curfew decreed since last night to prevent terrorist attacks. Also, the media detailed that among the aspirants is the Somali President Abdullahi Mohamed Farmajo, who will face the former prime ministers of the country Hassan Ali Kaire, as well as the former presidents Hassan Sheikh Mohamud and Sharif Sheikh Ahmed. Kenya looks for alternative markets in India and Serbia to caution consumers against the high cost of wheat flour and to avoid the looming shortage. The African nation imports over 60% of its wheat supply from Russia and Ukraine combined, but the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine has made it difficult to access that wheat. Narok County is the country's major wheat-growing belt. Farmers can barely meet local consumption demands. With the bulk of Kenya's wheat imports coming from Russia and Ukraine, the conflict has only made matters worse as it helped stoke inflation to 6.5% in April, the highest since 2017. Rising oil prices affecting transportation, fertilizers, and processing costs continue to rip through the farming economy. In Pakistan, 3 soldiers and 3 children were killed in an attack near a military vehicle in the country's northwest region. A local government official reported that on Saturday night, an attacker set off his explosive vest and blew himself up near a security patrol in the vicinity of a small market. The Pakistan Army also confirmed that at least 3 children between the ages of 4 and 11 died alongside the soldiers during the blast. Authorities condemned the terrorist attack and vowed to bring the perpetrators to justice. No terrorist group claimed responsibility for the attack. The International Monetary Fund strengthened the role of the Chinese yuan as an international reserve. The Chinese currency's share of the International Monetary Fund's special drawing rights basket increased from 10.92% to 12.28%. The Chinese Central Bank sent on its official website on Sunday. The currency entered the very tight club of major international reserve currency in 2016 by integrating the special drawing right. This had been hailed as a historic and symbolic step in the internationalization of the renminbi, something Beijing has long sought in its quest for international economic recognition. The valuation of the SDR created in 1969 is based on a basket of 5 major international currencies: the US dollar, the euro, the sterling pound, the renminbi or the Chinese yuan, and the Japanese yen. We have come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For teleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.